Hello and welcome to my channel, Paper Moon Journals. My name is Amy and today I have to show to you a step-by-step tutorial on creating this 4.5 by 6.5 scrapbook mini album. My sample project that we actually decorate in the video is a little bit smaller with a thinner spine. The only thing smaller about it was the spine. This one that we have here and the base project that we make has a 2 3/4 by 2.5 inch, or 2 3/4 on one side and 2.5 inch spine on the other side to allow room for photos. The original project, the prototype, I didn't think had enough room for photos, but I'm showing you here the project that we did create during the video. I added a few extra tags that I made from scraps to the back of the pockets, but everything else is exactly like it was when we make it in the upcoming video. In today's tutorial, I'll guide you through the process of crafting this personalized album from scratch using simple materials and techniques. From cutting and assembling the pages to adding decorative elements, you'll learn how to make this adorable album with a unique touch. Of course, this album can be decorated with any papers, and I'll be using a variety of papers in my collection to decorate these albums to use as samples for people who might be interested in getting the tutorial. I'll be sharing a PDF that was the draft PDF for this project at the beginning, and then we'll be making changes during the video. I also offer the PDF instructions available in my Etsy shop for just a few dollars, which makes it easier since you can just print it out anytime you need. I like to print it out double-sided and keep it in a sheet protector in a binder full of my different PDF instructions for when I like to make the project again. In this project, we'll be decorating it using Graphic 45's Curious Sir papers featuring Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is a favorite theme for me, and I was so excited to get these papers. I got them in November, and I thought they had a subtle Christmas vibe, but of course they were intended as Valentine papers, with so many of the patterned papers having hearts. The style of this album is the same construction style as the ATC Mini Tag Album. I've just blown it up to make it bigger so that it's more suitable to use up your 12 by 12 paper pads. I hope you're as excited as I am. Let's go ahead and get started. So here's the prototype or the sample project that I made. It has a smaller spine, and when decorated, there just wasn't enough room to add photos, I felt. So in the PDF instructions that will be available online, I do have a wider spine with 2 3/4 inch spine for the wide side and 2.5 inch spine on the other side. The other instructions that changed during the creation of the video were the cut list for the decorations. I didn't have any cut list for the decorations until during the video, so that was all typed up and added to the PDF later. The PDF will be available in my Etsy shop by the time the video goes up. I'm working on getting that listing done hopefully today. I just need to take some photos of one of the blank albums I have so that people can see what the album looks like blank. And then of course this pocket you could attach on one of the pages or someplace else. I'm going to use it inside the cover, but let's go ahead and get started making one ourselves. Here is the draft version of the PDF instructions before I made any changes. And then we'll be, giving these instructions a trial run with this one. And then I went ahead and used the updated instructions to make another one as well. The first thing that I've done to get started was that cut apart is my plan for the cover. It's kind of the one that inspired the size album, was I had that cut apart left over. I thought it would make a great cover, and I wanted to blow up that ATC Mini Tag Album. I have already attached my 10 by 12 pieces end to end, and I'm laying out the chipboard in the order that I like to assemble it. I like to have the 2 3/4 inch spine on the left and the 2.5 inch spine on the right of the pieces for our trifold album. You can just use 3 pieces and make yourself a regular cover if you don't want to do the trifold. I love the look of the trifold. I think it gives you the look of a boxed album where it's nice and secure and has a closure. It looks very professional and nice sitting on the table, where the other albums, I don't know, they just kind of flop open a little when you pick them up. I'm used to everything having some sort of a closure, and so I really love the trifold albums, although I do have a couple designs or patterns that I've made that weren't a trifold, but it is really my most favorite. I think I said already the PDF for this is available on the Etsy shop, but you don't really need it because I'll give you all of the instructions as we go along, and I'll be making it here with you in real time wherever possible. I'll just speed up boring bits like me gluing down these parts. When we glue down our chipboard pieces to our base scrapbooking paper, our base cardstock, what I'm using is just the Hobby Lobby basic brand. It's very affordable. It works well for me. And then we'll be wrapping that around the cover here. I have the pieces about 1/4 of an inch apart, the chipboard pieces. It's better to have them a little bit too far apart as opposed to having them too close together. If your paper splits, one of the reasons could be that maybe your chipboard pieces were too close together and it caused the paper to tear or break. I've sped up the rest of me gluing these pieces down, but you might notice I'm using one of the scraps of chipboard to just help make sure that I have all of the pieces lined up together and that they're going to be lined up upright with each other. Now that we have those glued down, let's set that off to dry and get out our instructions and see what we can prepare next. I think I would like to make the hinge piece, the hidden hinge binding mechanism. It's really easy to make, and I was surprised how really easy and fun it is. And then I noticed that I picked up the wrong instructions that didn't have the hinge mechanism instructions on it. These ones do. This one has the hinge on it. So what we need is a piece that is 6 inches tall, and we'll just keep it the full length until we're done scoring it, and then I just trim the excess off. I've already gone ahead and scored it. I left 1.5 inches at either end and then scored 1/2 inch with a 1/2 inch gusset in between. So you score at 1.5 inches, 7 inches, and 8.5. And everything between 1.5 and 7 inches is scored every mark at the 1/2 inch mark. Then we pinch together paired of 1/2 inch marks to make our little hinges. I've got my double-sided tape here, and I will be gluing shut. They're mountains when we've pinched them together. Of course, when we flip it over, they're valleys. So we're going to glue those valleys shut. And this is going to have quite a bit of weight on it. I want it really nice. So this will have double-sided tape stuck to double-sided tape. This will really be glued securely with our tape. And each one of the 4 now valley folds, now that it's upside down. And again, leaving a 1/2 inch gusset between every one of these hinges. And I'm using my ruler to tear the tape. You want to make sure you burnish the tape down well so that you get good adhesion, and then we're ready to peel off the backing and glue these shut. Each one of these, once glued shut, becomes a hinge. And then we just slide our little page over the top of the hinge. It's so easy. It's a no-so. I can't believe that I spent years worrying about not trying this because I thought it would be too hard. And then I have so much fun with it. I really love paper and the scrapbooking papers, especially by Graphic 45, but I've come to love some of the ones by Echo Park and Prima. I've always liked Prima. I tend to like the papers that are more artistically rendered and a little less of the cutesy, maybe. So here's our hinges. And see, we've got 4 of them there. That's the top. And then on the bottom of our hinge system, I like to use double-sided tape. You can use the adhesive of your choice. I'm going to use double-sided tape all along the back here. I'll do the best I can to cover the entire back with double-sided tape. I think this roll runs out on us and we end up getting another roll. I don't remember what brand this was. Scrapbook.com was out of their 2-inch wide tape, and so I got an alternate brand, and there was almost no yardage on the roll, and it was not cheap. I was pretty disappointed when I saw how little yardage was on this roll. But I did get myself a roll once it came back in stock, and that's the one that we'll be using once this one runs out. It must run out on another project. I did make a second one of these after the video, trying out my written instructions again once I had them all finalized for the Etsy store. If you do get one of my PDFs and you happen to notice a mistake or an adjustment that's needed, if you would politely message me, I would sure appreciate that, because I do use the instructions to make them. I try them out a couple times, but I think it could be hard sometimes perhaps to catch your own mistakes, since sometimes at the cutter I tend to just cut the piece I know I need instead of looking over at the instructions. You know, I try, but my mind wanders while I'm over at the cutter. I'm attaching double-sided tape to both the front and the back of each of the hinges. We're not going to put the page all the way down on the hinge to allow it to move more freely, so the fact that this piece is smaller than the hinge is good, and it also allows that if I don't get it on there quite straight, that there won't be double-sided tape sticking out. Another thing that I like to do, but often forget until after I've stuck it inside the project, is to miter the corners of our hinges. Let me get my, non-stick scissors. My non-stick scissors, so we can cut the edges of that off and not gum up my scissors, my regular ones. And they do go flying when I trim them off. I'll have to gather those up later. I'm just cutting down the width of the tape, cutting the corner off. There we go. Now we can finish wrapping our cover now that the glue's had a minute to set. We won't have pieces shifting when we go to fold it all up. I don't often wait, but a lot of times I'll mass make scrapbook album bases. So I will. I'll make one base, I'll set it aside, and then I'll make another. So if you'd like to mass make some, particularly the 3x3s. I love mass making the little mini 3x3s, at least 2 at a time. And then just burnish down the paper, folding it tightly around the edge of the chipboard and scoring all the way to the ends. I like to cut out the corners. You need to be careful to not cut too close to the chipboard, or there will be bare chipboard peeking out. I want to make sure I get right up to the edge of the chipboard there, and I could see I wasn't. Using my bone folder pressed up against it. We'll do the same thing with the other side. Getting it snug against the chipboard and getting good score lines so I can see where to cut out the corner. And I cut just outside of the score line and maybe within 1/8 of an inch of the corner. If I get too close to the corner, I just use a triangle of scrapbooking paper to cover up where the chipboard shows. See, I did better leaving more room on the other side, on one side than the other. Then don't forget to rotate your project around so that it's easy for you to work with instead of reaching across as you might want to do, as I wanted to do before I started filming videos. I found myself getting into the most awkward positions when it would have just been so much easier to rotate my project. All right, we're ready for that double-sided tape. Maybe here's where we run out. Again, maybe it was on another project. I was pretty sure it was on the hinge mechanism where I ran out on one of the projects, but maybe not. Somewhere on here, there's a good chance that we'll be switching brands of double-sided tape. I tried buying some no-name brand off Amazon, and even though I reordered the exact same tape from the same seller, I would get different tape each time. One of the times the tape came all brownish orange. The glue was all brownish orange, and it stunk so bad I couldn't stand to have it in the house or anywhere near me. And it was a no refund situation on that one. I was just stuck with the tape, and the seller was like, "Sorry, it's yellow and it stinks, but it still works." I don't know if it still worked or not because I didn't want to give it a chance. Yuck. I bought lots and lots of double-sided tape, and that was the only time I'd ever seen double-sided tape that looked like that. It obviously comes straight from the factory in China by the packaging. So anyhow, so now I just stick with either scrapbook.com or Score Tape brand, or just any tape from scrapbooking.com. If it wasn't their brand, then any other brand that they carried, I just assume is a top quality brand and buy it from that. But if I'm buying from Amazon, then I'll buy the Score Tape brand so that I know that it won't pull back up later. On some of my earlier projects, I had used inferior or really inexpensive double-sided tape, and then later my hinge kept pulling up out of the project, and that was kind of sad. I mean, since it pulled up, it wasn't a big deal to glue it back down, and that the next time I just used wet glue, and till I got better double-sided tape. But we'll spend a couple hours making this, and it would be a shame if it falls apart later just because we wanted to save a few dollars on our double-sided tape. I'm also pretty stingy with the tape as a result, though, since it's so pricey. I think it's like $10 a roll, depending on the size that you're getting. I think it's like $20 a roll for the 2-inch tape. So expensive. And the glue's was $25 a bottle the last time I got it, and then I noticed when I looked this time it was only $22 when I run out again. I like to get the big 16-ounce refill bottle and then just refill the tiny glue dispenser. I find that way I'm more frugal with my glue. That and using lots of glue stick wherever I can to avoid using either the double-sided tape or the wet glue. Though it's about $20 for a box of the 60 glue sticks, and I do go through them. I just ordered 2 more boxes of the 60 glue sticks each and have those in my storage. When I need them, I just go get a handful, and I'm surprised how often I run out of that handful's just all gone, and I need to go get more for the craft cart that I keep in my working area. I don't know if you follow me on social media, but I know on TikTok, like at least once a year, I'll do a little filming of my crafting area. I craft in the living room. At one end of the living room, I have a bookcase, a desk, a chair that I craft in, and 2 crafting carts. And then, of course, my crafting project kind of takes over the entire living room, where any papers that I have out or that I'm using get spread over the surface of every piece of furniture from one end of the living room to the other. Maybe even the kitchen table gets involved if I really get spread out. Oh, well. But when I clean it up and everything's tidy, it's down to just, the 2 crafting carts. I need to reorganize those. I use those heavily. The crafting cart that's right next to my chair has all of my go-to tools on it. My bone folder, my binding system, my double-sided tape, my ink, the things that I use every single time I craft. Those are on the crafting cart and right next to me. My punches, all of my punches are on there. One of my goals for this year, it's January 2025 when I'm filming this. Oh, let's go ahead and let's get back to the video. So in the video, I've finished attaching the paper all the way around, and we're ready to stick in our hinge binding system. You just want to make sure it's centered top to bottom and left to right. Our flaps will overlap the gap between chipboard pieces, and then we'll just cover up that chipboard on the left when we're decorating. We want to gently work our bone folder into the crease. I like to work it from the front and the back to make sure that the outside of the cover doesn't have any weird places where it didn't stick down quite right. When you flip it around, you'll see sometimes it just doesn't look quite right. And then we'll need another piece. We'll need a 6-inch by, I have just a 6-inch by 12-inch piece that I'm just going to trim to size. I think we need maybe by 11 inches or 10.5 inches, something like that. But it was easier to just take the whole 12-inch piece and cut it to size. My main cutter that I use doesn't cut anything smaller than 1.5 inch very well at all, because that's the width of the little cutting ruler that's in the way. It's meant for an office cutter and not for crafting. I think that's why. Okay, so let me get double-sided tape on this piece now that we know it's the right size and going to fit. So I want to cover the whole piece. I'll be using my 2-inch double-sided tape again. I know my friend Debbie at Project 39 Mini Albums, she says she likes the 4-inch tape. I don't know if I have trouble getting the 2-inch down straight and sometimes I wrinkle it and stuff. And then the 4-inch wide tape is even more costly than this. I noticed, I think she gets the scrapbook.com brand too. There's no reason to take chances with your double-sided tape. Or the glue, for that matter. Life is too short to wait for glue to dry. Buy the good glue. That art glitter glue, it just grabs instantly, and it makes making boxes and pop-up cards, things like that, makes it fun and easy. Where if you were using Elmer glue, you'd need a ton of clips and paper clips, and it might shift while the glue is drying and not end up how you wanted it. Let's just peel the backing off of our double-sided tape. There was a slight overlap off the edge. I'm trying to fold in. And then I think I might have overlapped the rows of tape a little. Once I get the backing off of here, we'll be using that to cover the inside of the book. Let me speed this up. Alright, I sped it up to 5 times natural speed and then worked the creases in front and back. You can see one of the times I turned it around, it did look funny, didn't it? The next step I like to do is to add the magnets. These are the ones I get from Amazon. They only once came in this little box, and then I continue to just keep reusing the little box. I ordered another 100. I'll just add them to the ones already in this little box till the end of time, and it sticks to the side of my rolling cart that I keep next to my work area, the little case of magnets, so I love that. So I like to stick each one down with the wet glue and then secure it with some double-sided tape. Let me fix the lighting here, see if I can. Okay, yes, and then secure it down with some double-sided tape. It's about a 1/2 inch away from either edge of the corner there. And then I like to let the second set of magnets pair themselves to the magnets in the book. That way we know we have our positive and negatives going the correct way with our magnets. And it's fun to just let them suck out of your hand and click down onto the thing. We add a dot of glue to the magnet to mark the spot. And if we're lucky, the magnet might stay in that spot when we open it. If not, it leaves a dot of glue where we needed it to go. So we got one of each. And then we stick that down and secure it with double-sided tape, and we'll leave the backing on that double-sided tape until we're decorating, and that will help glue down our decorative pieces during the decoration phase. We won't be decorating the one that we're making now. We'll be decorating the prototype, which, as I told you, is actually slightly smaller than in the spine, just the spine. Everything else is exactly the same, but the prototype did have a smaller spine, and it looks nice as long as you're not planning on adding photos to it. So I just kept that one as a sample for my own reference, since I love how this one came out decorated. I did make a second one using the album that we decorated here, and I love the cover. There's some things that I really love about it, in particular the really big size, but I just like this one better. I think because I had leftovers from another pad of paper, and so I used some extra pieces in this project. Let's get our pages ready. We will need 4 sheets of 12 by 12 to get the pages ready, and we score it at 6 inches one way, and then we rotate it and score it at 4 and 8 inches. And we'll need to do this with all 4 of our sheets. I had already prepared mine and pre-cut one of them, but we'll go through cutting and folding the 3 that we have remaining that need to be folded up. So we cut down the center fold line up to this last third here. We'll cut all the way down through 2 sections to that last third line, leaving it uncut so we don't cut it all the way in half. and then fold it in half so that it's now 6 inches tall, and then just accordion the pages on either side of this page pocket that we've created. So there's one. You can see there's a little page pocket, and then for now it's a little zigzag on either side. We're just going to glue shut the little flapping bits. You could also make top loading pockets out of those and then side loading pockets. I like the durability and the sturdiness that this gives the pages. It makes it feel so professional. I hate to say it, it makes it feel store-bought. Better than store-bought because it's handmade. One of the fun things about hand making your own scrapbook mini albums bases is that you can make the base in whatever color you want for your project. And if you start with a color like red or blue, it can really give you a head start on decorating and give the project a whole different vibe than if you had done it on this cream color or a black color. I do offer some blank mini albums for sale in my store ready for decorating. I was thinking, once I get some made, that maybe I'd offer some of these available, ready to decorate. If you decide maybe you don't want to make one yourself, but you would like to decorate one of these, you can encourage me in the comments. I will more quickly get to making some blank ones for the shop. Maybe sell the blank one I plan to decorate and then make another one for myself, something like that. I like to make a couple at a time when I'm sitting down making them. Sit and make at least a couple. So there's 2 of the pages. Just weight it down with something here. And then I had one already made. There we go. I did one off camera. So we have all 4 of our pages. And what we need is what I call, the thing that closes the pocket page. It creates another pocket and then closes the pocket page. Okay, so we'll need 4 pieces that are 4 7/8 by 5 inches. And with the 5-inch side up, you want to score at 2.5 inches. Let's just do all 4 pieces. And then you rotate it and score it at 1/2 inch and 4 3/8. And then, oh, that's going the wrong way. Wait a minute, Amy, stop. No, that one was supposed to be facing the other way. Oh no. I will just try to burnish out the fold lines. And now let's rotate it. You rotate it first. And then 1/2 inch and 4 3/8. Whew, I hope I don't do that again. So 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 4 3/8. See, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too, but the finished album will still be fine. 1/2 inch, 4 3/8. We can move our scoring tool out of the way. And we're ready to miter the corners. The 1/2 inches are flaps that we'll be using to glue it in while still leaving the pocket open for the pocket page, and front and back pockets that close the pocket page, like this. But if we don't cut out the excess bulk, it's just kind of clumsy. So it's nicer if we miter the edges. Burnish these down first. Sometimes it just didn't want to fold one way. It acts like there's no score line there, so I just fold it the other way then. think these are intended to be folded the other way anyhow. Against the score line. The bump. Okay, so now you can miter the corners like this, cutting little V's out and cutting the edge off. And then on the last one, I was like, oh wait, if you just do it like this, it's faster. So again, that's the more fun when you do the mass make, when I sit and make a couple at a time. Once I figure out the faster way, I of course remember that for the second one that I'm making right after. I'll do one step on one, and then, you know, like say do this step on one, and then do this step on the other. And just work back and forth between the two journals until they're both completed. And then maybe just sit and make a couple more if I'm having a mass make Scrapbook Mini Album. Like if I'm restocking my inventory, I have a full stock of my 6x6 mini albums in there. I sold a couple over Christmas, and then I sat down and spent a whole weekend making 6 more to add to inventory. So 2 of each color is what I added. Although I might have already sold one of those, something like that. I think I didn't see one, thought my inventory was off and made a new one. And then when I reorganized my inventory, found that I did already have one in inventory. And then if you just miter the corners with it folded, then it's even easier than cutting the V out. If you just go like that. Isn't that easier? It's faster. I think both are plenty easy, but that's definitely faster. Would have been faster. I did it that way. Let me clear these off, and then we'll be ready to close up our pocket pages. After which we can get them in the book, which is really exciting. When we get all of our signature sections and pages into the book, I'll show you how I glue those shut, and then I'll go off camera and just glue all of the pages shut without making you sit and watch and listen to me ramble, or the boring commercial-free music that I'm able to have. As a commercial account, they limit my music choices. You know, what options I have. So I glued down one size, make sure it's lined up with the bottom and it's free of the hinge, the page hinge, and then glue down the other side. Just burnish it down, make sure it's stuck. And then I'll just go ahead and show you using wet glue. I'll just go wild with my wet glue. It also keeps the pages flatter. I find there's less rippling and buckling when I use the glue stick than when I use wet glue. But I didn't want to go get a glue stick, and so here we are. But I'll go get a glue stick and I'll glue the rest of them off camera shut using the glue stick. The most affordable way, I think, to glue shut 2 pieces of paper. When I use glue stick, I get it on there really thick, and you also have to burnish it down. I like to use the back of the glue stick container to burnish it down when I'm using glue stick, and then it will stay stuck. There we go. Just working everything over, making sure it's fit together. There's no glue where I don't want it, that kind of thing. But none squeezed out and closed the pocket or glued a page to the pocket or something. There we go. So there's one, and you can see it's open all the way through, and that's where we're going to slide it onto the hinge. So I'll show you how I close up the pocket again, just so you can get to see that. So I do one side first, and then line it up with the open end of the pocket, and this closes that pocket, still leaving it open on the side, which I find is so marvelous. giving us so many pages for each little attachment to the hinge. I just loved how this worked out using the full sheet. And there we go. I've gone ahead and finished up all of the pages off camera, and we're ready to attach them to our hinge system. This is so fun. So the first thing is to peel the double-sided tape off. The only trick here is you just don't want to accidentally glue the tape, that hinge, to the inside of the cover there. I've done that once. I was able to pick it back apart and save the whole thing. So that was nice. So we just slide the sleeve of our signature over the top of that hinge, leaving about 1/8 of an inch between the of the hinge where we didn't slide it all the way down. That way it will turn freely inside our book. And this pocket page is what it's actually inside of, is there. So if you burnish that part down, we do not want our page coming unstuck. Let's move this out of the way. Then peel off the backing. Then get the sleeve on top of there. Just open all the way through. Just slide it onto the hinge. Easy peasy. And then once you're sure that it's straight and it's lined up with the, pages behind it and the cover, then you can burnish it down. You can see I'm working to get that top edge so that it's in there the way I want it. And again, leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap between the where we've attached the page to the hinge and the bottom of the album, the back of the spine. Because there's 2 pages in, or 2 signature sections in, lots of pages and pocket pages. Isn't that cool? You can see that one has a little piece where I didn't fold it quite evenly. I'm going to trim that off now. And we're ready to do the 3rd page. I'll go ahead and speed this up just twice normal speed, since you've seen me do this a couple times. Okay, we have all of our pages in, and the next thing that I think I'd like to do is to make the tags that we'll be using in here. To make the tags, we want 4 pieces, or at least 4 tags. Will be 4 pieces that are 5.5 by 5 inches. We want them to be 5 inches long and 5 inches wide. And then we just fold them in half so that they're 2.5 inches wide and 5.5 inches long. The 2.5 inches wide is because that's the perfect size to fit my tag top punch. I have some extra left over as well. Whenever I have strips that are scraps, it's one of my shorts, then I just fold that strip, 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5, 3 inches. I'd cut it down to 2.5 inches. I just fold them in half, glue them shut, and then punch them in my tag top punch. So I just cut some of those down, 1/2 inch, because it makes 6-inch tall ones when I do that. So I just cut those down to be 5.5 inches tall, rounded the corners and added those to the ones available for our project. And then I'm showing you how to make some here. So I like to use my glue stick. I'll just glue them shut and then put them underneath the scrapbook to keep them flat, to keep them from curling while I make the rest of them. Just burnish it down really good using the bottom of the glue stick container. I love that tag top punch. I bought it over a year ago and it still might be one of my favorite tools. One of my goals for 2025 is to use my die cutting machine more, but it does allow me to not need to get a die cutting machine out to have these beautifully shaped tags. See, I'm getting a really thick layer of the glue stick on there, and some of it squeezes out a little when I'm burnishing it down, so you know you have it on there good and thick. I really like the Amazon brand because it's not grainy or chunky, and I find that it can take a little bit more pressure without squeezing as much out as some of the other brands. The Amazon brand is my favorite. Let me get my tag top punch over here, and then we can use that. It's available on Amazon. It's on my Amazon tools list. I also have Amazon supplies list links on there. Thank you so much to everybody who's used that. I really appreciate it. I noticed last year I got $20 from people using the click and links. That was really nice. That sure paid for some supplies. I appreciate that. Since I don't have any budget for this, anything is appreciated. And in my world, money is tight enough that $20 is a lot of money. That's exciting for me. I really thought I'd be lucky if I made it to $5 or $10, really. And so the fact that it was almost $20, I thought that was pretty good. So thank you for that. I hope that you enjoyed the tools and supplies that you got if you were one of the people who used the links. Now this one's a little bit too wide, so let me just trim that down. It'll fit in here better. I almost have too many because I've been making so many scrapbooks and not as many junk journals. I haven't been using as many tags. So I have rings full of tags from making my scraps into tags. Black, white. I have some where I collage the scraps into a masterboard and then cut those and make those into tags. I did those with some of my Valentine scraps. Some of my Winnie the Pooh scraps were made into tags. So that was fun. Also make them into like 3x4 journaling cards. I like to do that. I collage my scraps onto a sheet of 12x12 and then cut them into 3x4s. That's fun. Okay, so I had 3 from my scraps that were the right size. And here they are. Some of the scraps I've folded in half in preparation for gluing into tags, and some of them I haven't yet. That's a project for another day. Adding the eyelets makes them look so nice too. Okay, let's clean up our desk area and get to the next step. I'll add some eyelets to these and then meet you back here. I like using my Crocodile for this, my Crocodile eyelet setting tool. Okay, now that that's done, we can make our narrow pocket that has a flap closure. You want to score that at 4.5 and 10 inches, and then 1/2 inch on either side, or 1/2 inch and 4 inches. And then the little 1/2 inch sections will be flaps to close it. We want to just retain that little 1/2 inch piece for the bottom third. So I'm just going to fold it and miter the edges there. This reminds me that this is the section I'm keeping. I'm just double checking it's right. Yes, this is the section I'm keeping. And then we trim off that 1/2 inch section on all of the other pieces. I don't know why I'm mitering the corners on all of these. I guess I've temporarily forgotten that those are going to be cut away. But I do remember, and they get cut away. Maybe I'm just practicing mitering corners. But it's easier if you just do that on the bottom section and then cut away the 1/2 inch sections on either side. like I'm about to do now. There we go. See, no big deal. It's strange because I created this and then forgot what I was doing partway through. There we go. This is the piece we want. And then the flap piece, the 2-inch flap, I like to round the corners on that. So I'll want to get my corner rounder and bring it over here. A thumb notch is the thing this really, really needs. It really needs a thumb notch. I didn't notice that until I was all done, but I'd recommend to you. If you have a circle punch, a 1.5, 2-inch circle punch, punch a nice sized thumb notch out of there. You'll make your life a lot easier getting things in and out of that pocket later. I also could have gusseted the little flaps here to give us a little more room inside the pocket. With the flap, we don't have to worry about things falling out. So we totally could have made gusseted pocket here, but this is good and it works well. So you can either add magnets now before decorating to close it, or wait until it's already decorated and use Velcro dots, which is what I plan to do. So since it's optional, you could, I think if you put it inside the front cover, it would keep the magnets from touching. So I like that spot inside the back cover. You could maybe fit it on one of the pages as well. That's why I made it only 4 inches wide. So you had the option of adding it to one of the pages if you wanted. I think I'll glue this down in a U shape so I can put a tag in behind it as well. That's also optional. So there's just one more step that we need to do to finish making or constructing the base of this mini album, and that's to make the cards that will go into the pocket pages. Let me go get some more scrapbooking paper and get those ready. We need 4 pieces that are cut to 7.5 by 5 3/4 inches. We are going to glue those shut, as I love to do, into 3 3/4 by 5 3/4 inch cards. I also like to round the corner on these. And you could have used your scoring board if you wanted. I find it's easier to just fold them in half and score them shut. So I will go ahead and do that and then meet you back here. We'll be all ready to decorate at that point. You can see I've made note of some basic decorating instructions, which will get more elaborate as we continue on, and I remember more things that I forgot to anticipate what I'd like to do. So let's go ahead and glue these shut around the corners. All right, here we are. So I have made note of some cuts for the cover and the pages, including the pocket pages, and then we'll be adding more measurements as we continue on. Okay, we're back, and I've gotten a head start from the patterns and solids. I used some of the red paper, I think it was the one with the fern on the other side, to decorate the cover using these measurements. I changed them for the one here because it's smaller than the one that we make, and the one that will be the permanent one in the instructions will have a bigger spine than this prototype one that I'm decorating. Next, we'll need 2 cut aparts from the page Adventure Time, and in total we'll need 16 3 1/4 by 5 3/4. We'll be using 2 from Beautiful Nonsense at this point. And then I'm just looking for where I want to attack next. I like cutting the pages in 2s, or in this case it's going to be 3 pages at a time. And so I'm just looking, do I want them to pair together? What do I want to happen here? So I decide to use another one of the cut aparts. If you just trim it down, like the one that you can see here, just to that tightest border, then it fits nicely on the page. And then we'll need 3 from Always Late. 3 3/4 by 6 1/4. All of the ones we'll be doing will be cutting to that size. Let me cut ahead to actually, maybe I'll use this cut apart here. I'm going to use this piece. I've already cut the size to, kind of as a guide to see where I want to trim down this other piece. Another cut apart from Adventure Time. Okay, we are back at it with more cut aparts from Adventure Time. I love both sides of these journaling cards. I really wish Graphic 45 would offer the journaling cards as a digital so I could print as many of them as I wanted. I liked when we used to get the packets of journaling cards, we would get multiple pages of cut aparts and a packet of journaling cards that was often different from all the other cut aparts and things in the paper collection. And then now I feel like we lost some of our cut aparts to the journaling cards that used to be separate. I love the cut aparts in my projects, you'll probably notice, and the fact that they almost perfectly fit these pages is delightful. Moving on, we will need 3 from Happy Hour that are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, and we'll be using more of the cut aparts. From Adventure Time. I'd love to know in the comments, do you like when I show you how I decorated it step by step, or is just a flip through at the end fine? Or a walkthrough where I maybe went through which page I got the different things from. We've moved on to cut 3 from Joyous Possibilities. Three 3/4 by 5 3/4. That'll be the size we'll be using on all of the pages until we get to the pocket pages. I like to mix up the cutting and matting pages with the decorating, so I thought it'd be fun to use some of the border strips and some of the die cuts to decorate the pages. The border strips are, I believe, coming from, let me find it. The page Dream It. That's also the page that we got the cover from, and we'll be using everything from that page of cut aparts. All right, I used one of the cut aparts to make a belly band on that page by just gluing it on the left and right hand side. And I think we're ready to go back to decorating the base album with the pocket pages. For the pocket pages, we need 8 3 3/4 by 3 3/8 inch pieces for above the pocket, and 8 3 3/4 by 2 1/4 pieces for below the pocket. I'm using from the Patterns and Solids, one of the red sheets. I'm basically going through my scraps at this point instead of cutting into full sheets. Anything that I have laying in my scraps that's the right size is what got chosen to go for the pocket pages. Also from the Patterns and Solids, the white with hearts. Just trying to decide where's the best place to put that. think I like that on the page with the other hearts. I hope I end up leaving it there. Sometimes I change my mind. And then the solid red on this one, which is the one where the white with red hearts comes from. It's the reverse side of this. All right, I cut 2 of each from Always Late, and one set I'll use on the red side and the other side I'll use on the animated side up. Or maybe I'll use both on the red. It's hard to decide when I like both sides. The solid red I think looks better, and I do have that paper featured nicely elsewhere in the album. So I'm gonna... Oh, it looks like I cut 3. I cut 3 from the Always Late. And this is from Beautiful Nonsense. Outlandish Odyssey, the black and white roses. That was one of my least favorite, and I ended up having to use a lot of that in my next project since I had avoided using it in this one. I love this paper. It's great for fussy cuts too, for fussy cutting things out of there to use for decoration. I had some scraps left over from some other projects that I had made, and so this one I got to use some of the extra cut-aparts, and I had some extra half pages and things that got used, so I used part of one of each sheet at least from the complete collection, and then some of the extra stuff that I had. I'm ready to add some border strip decoration to our pocket pages now. Let me speed this up. I have some collage 3x4 journaling cards that I had made from scraps after completing other projects that I did in November, I want to say. The ATC Mini Tag Album that we decorated, we used some things from the 12x12 paper collection, or not, whatever I had left over, I know I collaged into journaling cards, and I still have a few of those left over in my stash. I often forget to use my specialty pieces like these rub-on transfers, but not today. I think we'll get out this cute Alice and we'll put her in one corner, and we'll find another one to put in the other corner. These are really fun. They come in and out of popularity in the paper crafting. I love them. I hate it when they go out of popularity and are no longer available. They're great. You can actually use these on like wine glasses and things like that. Almost any surface, really. Doesn't have to just be paper. Feel a little boring wasting mine on my paper. Well, not really. I love my paper projects. Doesn't that look beautiful? It won't interfere with our magnet at all. Let me speed this up. Okay, I've sped it way up, and once I get this decal on, I'm going to add another butterfly decal, and then we're all done and we're ready to look at the final flip through of this project that we made together. This one is my favorite. It's the one that I kept as a sample of if I was going to repeat the project. It's the one I'd like to repeat. I did want to use up the rest of the papers that I had out, so I made a second one that I think I showed you a little at the beginning. But this is the one that we made here. I just added a bow, some trim, some flat backs to decorate it. Another rub-on the back cover, one of those butterflies. You can see I've added some bows or toppers to my tags. You can see those peeping out of the top. I love this album. So there's one of the cut-aparts. And here we go. So we have the journaling cards. I used some of that was fussy cut out of one of the pages. There's from my scraps. When I scrap bust at the end of the project, I make journaling cards or tags, and I had some of those from my November project, as I mentioned earlier. And to mat the pocket cards, you need 4 2x4-inch pieces, and I just went through my scraps. I used 2 of coordinating from 2 different pages from my scraps to decorate the cards, and same with the tags. I just went through my scraps and used 2-inch by 4-inch pieces for the tags, and then maybe added some fussy cuts or die cuts in different places. See, I added the Tweedles die cuts to that pocket, and then the journaling card cut aparts I also added to the different tuck spots that we made with other cut aparts, which is one of the reasons I like them so much. I even made a flower from the die cuts, had those on one of the pages. Those hearts are from the die cuts as well. The flower on the top of that tag, either fussy cut or was a die cut, I don't recall. And then some of the die cut hearts on the pocket there. And the die cut Falling Alice. I love that die cut. So this is why I advised during the video that you want a thumb notch in your pocket. It was a little bit difficult to get things in and out of the pocket. If I put skinnier things in the pocket as well, the things going in the pocket are almost exactly the size of the pocket, so that makes them fit snugly. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please like, subscribe, share the channel with anyone you think might enjoy the content, and have a wonderful day. I'll put some close-up shots of the journal that I made after this one, so you can get some ideas of using the papers on the exact same project but with a different result. Thanks again, and have a great day.